Welcome back to the Krakaville, USA. Back at you with a special cooking edition for Thanksgiving here. Unfortunately, Mr. Mayor is unable to join us, but I'm going to be showing you today how to make Mr. Mayor's famous collard greens. I don't think we've featured this yet on the channel. And Mr. Mayor, unfortunately, is unavailable because he's out, well, governing Krakaville. He has mayoral duties that he has to attend to, making sure that everyone in Krakaville is always having as much fun as possible. So I'm going to do my best to show you how to cook Mr. Mayo's famous collard greens. First of all, let's start out with our ingredients. First, you're going to need some greens, collard greens. These ones are actually fresh from Krakaville Ambassador Billy's farm in Krakaville. We want to give a big shout out to Billy for that. The reason they are a little wilted rather than fresh is that they were frozen previously. So that may reduce our cooking time, we'll find out, but they were grown by one of our very own. We've also got some peeled plum style tomatoes. We got half a pack of bacon that I have cut up into basically 1-inch squares. We got some onion. This is about 3 medium-sized sweet onions. We got some chicken broth. You're gonna need probably 4 or 5 cups of that, depending on how much you're making. And for reference, our green, we got about 2 big bunches of greens here. We're gonna have some crushed red pepper, some salt, some black pepper, some Lee and Perrins Worcestershire sauce, or as Mr. Mayor would say, Worcester sauce, and some extra virgin olive oil. In addition, we've got some garlic diced up here. I got about 4 or 5 medium cloves there. And I got 2 pre-cooked smoked turkey legs. Mr. Mayor usually makes this recipe with ham, but it being Thanksgiving, I thought we'd twist it up a little bit and put some turkey in there. So those are the ingredients that you're gonna need. So the first step here is gonna be to add a few tablespoons of olive oil into our pot. And we're going to add the bacon and cook that down until it's browned. And then we're gonna add our onions and kind of saute that down before our next step. So let's get after it. All right, now that our bacon's looking nice and brown, we're gonna go ahead and add in our onion. Let's do that right now. Go ahead and give that a little stir. Mix it up real nice. We're going to cook that down until the onions are sauteed, kind of translucent but not brown. And one other ingredient I forgot to mention that Mr. Mayor requires when anyone's cooking one of his recipes is liquor. Now, Mr. Mayor prefers Irish whiskey, but I'm more of a tequila drinker. So today we're going to be drinking a little bit of this Clase Azul Reposado. And when you ask Mr. Mayor where to get liquor, he will tell you get that at the liquor sto. L-I-K-K-A-S-T-O. Cheers. And I'm gonna go ahead, after we put the onions in, and go ahead and add our minced up garlic. Mr. Mayor says you can also put this in a little bit more towards the end if you want a little more garlic flavor in there, but not much better smelling than sauteed onions and garlic, so I'm gonna get that going. All right, our onions, garlic, and bacon are looking great. Sauteed those for about, I don't know, 7 to 10 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and add our chicken broth next. Now, once this is in, we're going to bring that chicken broth up to a simmer, or, you know, to where it's just starting to boil. And then we're going to add a few other things. But before we do that, I just want to let you know I'm using about 4 cups, or as Mr. Mayor would say, faux cups. Well, actually, I'm going to put a little bit more in because we got a lot of greens. So I'm going to put in about, let's say, somewhere around 5 cups, maybe 6. You know, part of the beauty of cooking in Krakaville is we don't use exact measurements. Everything is done in a backwoods style, so to taste. Now, I went ahead and chunked up this smoked turkey legs because since our greens have been frozen and they're already sort of more wilted like that, I'm anticipating it's not going to take as long to cook them as you would with fresh ones that have to cook down to sort of soften them up. So I've chunked that up, and we're going to put the bones in there too for a little more flavor. Go ahead and set those in and put in our smoked turkey leg meat. You know we love all kinds of proteins here in Krakaville. I'm going to stir that all in there and slowly bring this up to a low boil. Look at that. Well, just got finished talking about improvising cooking in Krakaville, and I realized I made an error. I was supposed to get whole peeled tomatoes, and instead these are peeled and ground. So I'm going to use some anyway because I love tomatoes and I think it'll be great. But I'm going to go ahead and put this in before I season anything because there's quite a bit of salt in here, and I want to make sure I don't over salt the greens. But I'm going to go ahead and put these in. I think I'm just going to put in, we might as well do the whole can. Get that stirred in and bring all this to a simmer. All right, our broth is starting to heat up here. I'm going to add 3 or 4 tablespoons of crushed red pepper. I like it spicy. Some people don't. You can always add more later. Give that a good stir. All right, while we're waiting for this to come to a low boil, I'll tell you a little story. As you know, Mr. Mayor requires the consumption of liquor drinks while we're cooking. However, this is a pro tip from Krakaville. You must moderate your liquor drinking. One time, Mr. Mayor and I were in the deep backwoods of rural Georgia, and we were camping out for a few days, doing some fishing, some hunting, and a lot of cooking. And Mr. Mayor was making what I believe to be his best recipe, which is an unbelievable oyster stew. And it takes hours to make it. And we were cooking it every step of the way, and we may have gotten a little carried away with the liquor drinks. And we were having a really good laugh. We were getting a little rowdy, and we knocked the pot of oyster stew off the burner, and it went all over the ground, and it was gone. And we were in mourning for about 20 minutes or so, and then we were laughing about it, but it was definitely a disappointment. So, moral of the story, make sure you moderate your liquor intake while you're cooking. All right, we got a nice boil going. I'm gonna go ahead and add some fresh cracked black pepper. Probably got about 2 tablespoons in here. And I'm just gonna put that right on in. And give it a stir. By the way, Mr. Mayor always says, if you don't pronounce the ingredients right, they're just not gonna work right. So that's why I have to call it pepper. Okay, just getting ready to add the collard greens now. Now, Mr. Mayer says he likes to take the collards when they're fresh and just kind of pull them apart with his hands to kind of make them in smaller pieces so it's easier to serve and easier to eat. Being that these were previously frozen and sort of wilted when I thawed them out, what I did was I just kind of diced them, took a knife through it a few times, in about 1-inch square chunks like that. And I think that should do nicely. It was just too difficult to try to tear them with my hands like Mr. Mayer suggested. We're gonna go ahead now and add that to our pot of sauce. My goodness, look at that. All that smoked turkey in there, onions and garlic, bacon. This is gonna be amazing. I can't wait to taste it. Now, normally if these were fresh, you'd cook it for, probably an hour to get them soft, but I don't think we're gonna need to do that. So I'm just gonna kind of keep an eye on it. And then the last thing will be to do is to season it to taste. Final step, Mr. Mayer calls this Ep13 Worcester sauce. And he said to add about a half a bottle. Now, if you're like me, you're probably thinking, well, what about the vinegar? I love vinegar on collard greens. Mr. Mayer's the expert. This has vinegar in it. Basically, it's served as a vinegar substitute, but it also has a lot of other delicious things. So we're gonna use this. Now, I wanna mention that these collards have been on the stove simmering over low heat for about almost an hour. It's about 55 minutes. And I've been kind of keeping an eye on them. And I'm doing this towards the end so it doesn't all evaporate. Why don't you come on in here and see what I got going on. I'm gonna put in about half the bottle like he said. Stir it up, we'll give it a taste. We'll see how it is. And then I'll determine whether or not we need to add more. All right, let's give it a try. Ooh, it's hot. Oh my God. It's really tasty. Getting a little smoke flavor from that smoked turkey. I think we're gonna need a little more Worcester sauce. I don't think you can really overdo it with this stuff. I mean, I'm sure you can, but I got a little bit of that garlic. It's got some heat on it from those red pepper flakes. And it's tasting really, really good. Okay, we're all done here. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be even better after I leave it overnight. But I'm gonna go ahead and make myself a little bit right here. Make sure to get some of that bacon in there. I'm here to tell you, Mr. Mayer knows what he's doing. He walked me through this recipe over the phone. I did take out the chicken bones. We're gonna let this cool off and let it sit overnight. And then we'll bring it to Thanksgiving feast tomorrow. Well, thank you so much for joining us again here in Krakaville, where we love the great outdoors, the coastal living, and some of the finest recipes known to man, thanks to Mr. Mayer. I'm gonna sit here and enjoy some of my collard greens. And we'll be back with you real soon. Hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. By the way, if you have any tips on how you like to make collards, please let us know in the comments. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you next time in Krakaville, USA. Oh my God, it's so good.